"Sir, we would like to see Jesus." We hear in our gospel today of these Greeks coming to Philip with this proposal, or this question, asking, "We would like to see Jesus." This desire. And then it goes on to say that Philip goes to Andrew, and then him and Andrew go to Jesus with this proposal, indicating to them, these people want to see you. And then Jesus sort of gives this very long, wordy, enigmatic answer that we're kind of not sure what to do with. He goes on and talks about a grain of wheat must die in order to live and produce fruit, about this hour of being glorified, about the ruler of the world being driven out, and about this idea of being lifted up from the earth to draw all the world, everyone, to himself. So what's going on in this gospel today? Well, let's start with Philip. The Apostle Philip gets featured a bit more in the Gospel of John than in the other Gospels. And there's three particular moments with Philip that I want to hone in on. First, when we first meet Philip, in the beginning of the Gospel, Jesus invites him to come and follow him. And then in the process, Philip goes and invites his friend Nathanael. He says, "Hey, we found the one who Moses and the prophets talked about. And he's Jesus from Nazareth." And Nathanael gives this very skeptical answer that says, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" And Philip invites him and says, "Come and see. Come and see." And Philip apparently gets an invitation for inviting people to come and see, because then in our gospel today, people come to Philip and say, "Hey, we'd like to come and see this Jesus." And later in the Gospel of John, during the Last Supper, we see Philip then specifically asks Jesus, he says, "Jesus, show us the Father. Show us God the Father, and that will be enough for us." And Jesus says to him, "Philip, have I been with you all this time, and still you do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." So what we see in Philip is this man seeking the face of God. This great seeker of the face of God, who in the process invites others to come and seek the face of God with him. So also, as we kind of walk along with Philip, we then are invited to seek the face of God. And that with Philip, we come to see what Jesus says, that the fullness of God, the face of God, is revealed in the person of Jesus Christ. That Jesus says, "Whoever sees me has seen the Father." That you can't come to know God the Father unless you see me. That in Jesus, the fullness of God is revealed to us. He's the fullness of the mystery of God revealed to us. That Jesus is, if you will, the perfect sacrament of God. That is, that Jesus makes concretized, tangible and visible, the invisible mystery that is God. That Jesus becomes for us God who we can see, who we can encounter, who we can touch, who we can taste and smell, if you will, in the Eucharist. That we use all these visible, sensible symbols in our liturgical prayer, especially during Holy Week, to draw us into this mystery of God being revealed in the person of Jesus in this tangible, concretized way. So in Philip, Jesus reveals that Jesus, is the fullness of who God is revealed. But he also goes a step further. That Jesus says, though, to understand who Jesus is, and thus who God is, we cannot understand without the experiences of Holy Week, his passion, death, and resurrection. That Jesus points us to the Paschal mystery. You cannot understand Jesus and thus God without the cross, without his suffering, or what we sometimes call his passion and death. Sir, we would like to see Jesus. And so when Philip tells Jesus this, that there's people who want to see him, what Jesus, in sort of his long answer, is pointing to what we call the Paschal mystery, his passion and death. That's what he's getting at when he talks about that a grain of wheat must die in order to bring new life. His hour of glory, that his passion and death is this hour of his glory. That it's the act of driving out the ruler of this world, that is the forces of evil, and this being lifted up on the cross. That somehow, it's in his crucifixion that that is the full revealing act of who God is. This is partly why sometimes, as we go through the gospel, when Jesus does these healing acts and he then tells people to keep it secret, don't tell people who I am. Don't tell them about it just yet. And also at the Transfiguration, when Jesus shines with a bright light on the mountain with Peter, James, and John, and they come down, he tells them, don't tell people about this event yet. That part of the reason being is that people will misinterpret those things and won't understand fully who he is, that you don't have the right lens of interpretation until you see the cross of Jesus Christ. That without the cross, without his crucifixion, we're prone to misunderstand exactly who Jesus is and what he came to do. Sir, we would like to see Jesus. And so as we move towards Holy Week, we are invited to seek his face, to seek the face of God. And that it's only in these climactic events of Holy Week, what we call his Paschal mystery, Paschal coming from the Hebrew word for Passover, that for us Christians our new Passover is Jesus' passion, death, and resurrection. That it's only in the Paschal mystery that the face of God is revealed. The inner heart of God is revealed. This is partially why also I decided to take up the custom, the tradition of veiling some of the images of Christ and other statues that we have the option to do starting this week. Because then come Easter is the great unveiling, that we have to move through the events of Holy Week for the great veil to be removed, for the great unveiling of the face of God and who he is. So this Holy Week, how am I seeking the face of God? How is it I will allow God to reveal his face more fully to me? And how do I invite others to seek the face of God? Sir, we would like to see Jesus. Amen.